The Fury of Firestorm, number 13, written and art by Dan Jurgens. This is essentially just, hey, remember everything we were doing before the Zero issue? Forget all that. Just none of it matters. It literally could not apply less. So we open up with Ronnie's mom is waiting for Ronnie for parent-teacher conferences because, yep, we got to remember that they're high school kids. So at that point, Jason's dad shows up and starts talking to mom and says like, hey, Jason's not here either. Do you think maybe they're off doing Firestorm things? And she's like, yeah, I mean, probably. Hey, aren't our kids so great in their own respective ways? Ronnie with football, Jason with science. It's like, yes, they are. Maybe we should talk some more. So they walk off together. And then we cut over to Firestorm, which, again, at this point, is now Jason and Ronnie fused together. Ronnie in the driver's seat, Jason as a floating head that just advises Ronnie as to what to do. And Jason's freaking out, like, we're missing our parent-teacher conferences. Come on, we got to wrap this up. And he's like, dude, there's a giant robot destroying an airbase. Clearly that takes priority. So he keeps on trying to blast it with stuff, and then he's like, okay, whatever, let's try transmuting it. And the transmutation doesn't take. Like, he tries changing metal into feathers, doesn't work. Tries changing plastic, doesn't work. And he's like, all right, well, if Jason's transmuting powers don't work, let's try Ronnie's blowing up powers. And so he blasts it, doesn't even wait until the smoke clears, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm sure that did it. And he tries flying away. But of course, it didn't work, and the giant robot is still going after him. So the robot flies up after Firestorm, and Ronnie's like, why didn't you tell me it could fly? And he's like, how was I supposed to know? Also, there's a whole thing in here where Jason, like, even when Ronnie's knocked out, Jason is still like, hey, Ronnie, are you okay? Can you hear me? Which I guess I don't understand how this works, in that you'd think that he would have some sort of insight to Ronnie's like brain of him seeing that he's unconscious. I don't know. That just seemed like a weird one to me, where it seems like Jason is just this ethereal, like he actually is a floating head outside the body. But whatever. So at this point, robot's still causing some damage. The actual military starts getting involved. We see General Eiling is scrambling the bombers. So at that point, Jason posits like, maybe this robot is made of a malleable alloy that stops it from transmuting. And Ronnie's like, all right, whatever. What else can we do to beat him? And Jason's like, well, maybe try destroying like the environment. If we can't affect him, we can affect the environment. So he tries blowing up a mountain, bringing it down on the robot. The robot fires off some missiles, which Ronnie dodges, but then they're making their way to the airbase anyway. So he transmutes the missiles into a bunch of soda cans, and he's like, yeah, we did it. And he's like, what about the robot? And they look around, and the robot's literally just not there anymore. It just left. And he's like, all right, well, call it a win. So we see where the robot went. It's called Data Zen, and it arrives back at this weird underground base, and there's some shadowy government and or anti-government place that's like, oh, we've gotten so much data from Firestorm, even on our just first test run. This is incredible. And there's a guy on the screen who's like, give me the reports as soon as you can. So Ronnie and Jason arrive at the school. They're like, oh, maybe we can still make it. Maybe there's still time. And they run into the school. They meet up with Tanya, who is the one girl who knows their secret, as they literally say, just like in a hushed tone. Like Jason's like, quiet, Tanya knows our secret about being Firestorm, but nobody else here does. And it's like, Jason, you could just say the first part, not the second, but regardless. So at that point, Jason's reassured, like, hey, just because you missed the parent-teacher conference, like, it's not a big deal, whatever. But then the football coach comes up to Ronnie and says, like, hey, your teacher tells me you're about to flunk history class. Like, if you flunk, you're not going to be on the team anymore. You need to be on that paper that's due tomorrow. Get on it. And Ronnie's like, yes, sir. And they're like, how much of the paper did you do? And he's like, I haven't started it. And it's revealed that firestorming takes up a lot more time. Also, he was helping his uncle put up a new roof or something. So Tanya's like, well, I can help you. We're going to do an all-night study session. Let's go. And Jason's like, I'm sorry, you taking my girl? What? Huh? but he's a lot less standoff about it. Anyway, Star Labs is attacked. We see a guard playing Angry Birds. Like, he vocally tells us that he's playing Angry Birds, and then a pen manages to pierce through his ear and, like, kill him. And then we see 3 people show up who were like, all right, make sure the alarms go off. We want somebody to show up to stop us. So at that point, the study session is apparently not going well because Ronnie keeps on wanting to take breaks. But then Jason comes in and says, something's happening at Star Labs. We gotta go. And Ronnie's like, but my paper. What should we do? And Tiny's like, I'll write your paper. If this is a life or death thing, I'll write your paper. And Ronnie's like, awesome, bye. Until they become Firestorm and fly off. They get to Star Labs, and immediately they are smacked in the head by one of the bad guys. And then another one shows up who's able to absorb his blasts. And he says, like, think of me as a living black hole. And then the third one shows up who has telekinetic powers and drops, like, an entire thing onto Ronnie. Again, which Jason is like, Ronnie, are you okay under there? You'd think he'd know. But then we see this, I don't even know, this is like 4 levels deep here. So we see the government facility is watching the fight, and it's like, well, do you still want him if he's so easily taken down? And the face in the screen says, yes, he's exactly what we're looking for. But then we see that this government facility is being watched by some weird silhouette in space who says, which is exactly why I must return. So we got like 8 levels of like people watching people watching people. Sure, whatever. This is a 6. And not because I don't get it. I get it too much. Like, I get that technically this is the start of a new run. If you don't count the 0 issue, like people come into number 13 and they're like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. So they take the little bits to tell you like, hey, here's how Firestorm becomes Firestorm. Here's who knows the secret. Here's this. Also, blanked over one bit. Ronnie's mom and Jason's dad come back to Ronnie's house together, and they seem to be a little bit all touchy-feely. So that might come up. Tanya is the only one who sees that. Anyway, yeah, no, this issue just, I don't think it trusts the reader to know anything. And on one hand, I get it, starting a new run, you want to establish like who knows what and what goes where and everything like that. But like, they're also setting up like 5 mysteries right now all at the same time. It's like, oh, here's Data Zen, and here's this group of other people, and here's this government organization, and here's this space organization. It's like, okay, but like, take a breath, do 1 or 2 of those things, and then you can lay out more in the future. This just seemed a bit overkill. So yeah, it's a 6. Art-wise, it's okay. It's not great. Dan Jurgens does a fine job, but it is definitely house style. It is definitely, because he defined house style pretty much. So yeah, it's okay. It's not great, and we'll see where it goes from here.